Where the Sugar Bowl site, it looks very different because there was a huge single pane glass window. How that thing never got broken beats me. But where you see these 3 panes, it was 1 pane. So you can see right in there. And that kind of gave it a little bit of, eclectic vibe, I'll call it, because you walk by and say, who's in there? And then there was a little step there. There was sort of a tiled protrusion. You could actually stand on it in front of that big pane glass window. And people would stand in front of the pane glass window talking about whatever. You know how brothers would talk. So you had a little bit of that, and you had the inside as I already described. And then you walked into the store, and on the left-hand side was your sundries and candies and tobaccos counter. And on the right-hand side was an old-fashioned ice cream parlor type counter, L-shaped. Then in the back of the store, there were about 8 booths, like you would see in a diner, a booth. So, I mean, to get a booth was a premium when that store was crowded. People leave. And then Snookie had to move people out of there. They want to sit there all night, And but I can recall in the probably was the 50s and maybe into the early 60s, you would see the pledges of the Greek fraternities and sororities on Sunday. They have them all dressed up the same way. They had to go stand in front of the Sugar Bowl where they would be ridiculed, as a pledgee. I remember women bringing like little round things and hats, and the guys, it was mostly women. It probably was the Deltas and the AKAs, I bet. And so it was that kind of a thing. And then to the side there, you walk downstairs. There's an outside entrance to the basement of this store, a cavernous basement, and that's where the supplies for the store. The store was moving stuff. It was like McDonald's volume at times, and then the vending business I talked about earlier was housed in the basement of the store, where all these cigarettes you had thousands and thousands of dollars of cigarettes in that basement during the heyday when everybody smoked.
Must have had to have some kind of security up there.
Of course, he had pretty thick steel doors with heavy locks and an alarm system, and it really was never really a problem with break-ins. In Harlem, as the police force gradually integrated, and more blacks became police officers. They all come in here and drink coffee, and and he knew all the lieutenants and the captains. So he had pretty good surveillance of that store by the police department. It was like 22 West, but it had a lot more character. I mean, 22 West, Percy and them sat in there, and the people from the Lenox Terrace, sat there. But I used to go in 22 West occasionally, but it was a precursor to that. And 22 West did a more formalized, this is where you get your breakfast, lunch, sometimes dinner. But the Sugar Bowl was really a rendezvous hangout, not connected with a residential complex. This was the whole of Harlem's. If you were from 16 years old to 36 years old, you probably said, that's where I And then the older people come in to eat their sandwiches, and see all these old ladies would pour out of these churches on Sunday, and the old ladies took over the place with their tea and coffee and waffles. They had ice cream, had Maltas and banana splits and 7th Avenue fraps. That was at the front end of the store. Big time ice cream. Back towards the back of the store was the grill, the sandwich area, and a couple of waffle irons, deep fat fryer. So this place was putting out, everything. And it's the little story, my father bought the store in 1947, same year I was born. He bought it from some German Jews who just wanted to vacate the neighborhood. They made their money. They were moving on to bigger or better things. So here comes this little black guy who wants to buy a store, and he was probably 28, 29 years old. Well, he was born in 1919. How old would he have been? 28. He would have been 28 years old when he bought this store. And they didn't believe he was a sufficient risk to sell it to him. So Armel Ice Cream was the ice cream supplier. Big name ice cream supplier, but a local company manufactured the ice cream in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, brought down, made their way all the way down to Midtown. And they had connections to this store. You know, there's a big, big customer for Armel Ice Cream. So they said, well, why don't we get Harry Frankel, who I'm sure is passed long ago, because Harry'd be 100 years old, like my father'd be 100 years old by now. And they said, well, we'll sell you our store, provided you take Harry as your partner, and we'll have Armel loan you $5,000 for the purchase price. So he got the $5,000 loan, he got Harry, and they were off to the races. And I remember as a child, he lasted about 7, 8 years. Harry was around. I can remember till the mid to late 50s, probably the mid 50s. My father bought him out, paid off the Armel loan, and the rest is history. Then my father got a little, you know, feisty about, you know, now he owned it clear, no debt, and got all these people coming in here making big money. That store was making big money in the 50s. And but he had to pay the dues with the, you know, the white establishment, I guess you call it here in Harlem. That's the whitest. And but he dealt with it and overcame it. So I guess years later, when the mafia guys came by, he wasn't phased. And he was just little. He's short. He's a little, small, little
Feisty.
elf feisty kind of. Well, it was George Woods. It's like a bohemian guy, I remember that. And he was some very unusual black guy, and he owned the Red Rooster in the 50s. And then Al Douglas came along. Al Douglas was a black jukebox owner. Now, here was a guy in Harlem that did own jukeboxes, but he had his agreement or deal with the mafia. He cut it.
Straight.
And he and my father were very tight. I can remember, you know, Al and my father, you know, doing financial transactions, helping with him. Al helped my father. Al was far more wealthy than my dad. My dad wasn't wealthy; he was just successful. I'd say upper middle class. But Al owned a building. You go down to 110th Street and 7th Avenue. Just go straight down here, and that last building on the right-hand side, big apartment building. Al Douglas owned that building.
No kidding.
For about 20 years. He bought the Red Rooster from George Woods. I was too little to really get clear about the story. But George had them Dorothy Dandridge type women. You had to look like Dorothy Dandridge. Go down there to the Red Rooster and sit at the bar. You couldn't be no ordinary looking chick. I mean, it was really as close you get to a high class bar in the neighborhood. Or Adam would go down. Adam Clayton Powell would go down because Adam liked smoking cigars and drinking. He loved them women that sat at that bar. So that vibe was in the Red Rooster. That was quite a vibe. Everybody kind of knew everybody, and you had to behave. And if you didn't behave, if you were a certain genre of person, you knew don't go in there. So if you go in there, you better be very polite and respectful. You better take it up a notch, hanging out in there. And some of these anecdotes out here, they say Jesse Jackson, at the tender age of 18 or 19, he hardly had an ID to drink. And he was in there, you know, just sitting at the feet of, you know, Hugh and Jack and Adam Clayton Powell.